Hey Dennis, welcome to Social Dream Machine. I am excited to talk to you. You are a really interesting entrepreneur. Can you tell me just a little bit about your background as far as like how many different products you've launched and things you've tried?
I started 6 years ago, and the first product I launched was a bunch of workshops. So those were in-person workshops, and then COVID hit. So in-person workshops didn't quite work anymore once COVID came along. So then, obviously, turned that to online webinars, online workshops. Started creating some other online courses to go with that. Started writing some books, and now it's kind of ballooned. I've got 4 books, several courses, a newsletter, a podcast, a YouTube channel, and now most recently a online community. So lots of stuff to build and publish and market over the years.
I've made the same mistake as one of your blog posts or one of your LinkedIn posts that I read one time of like building something without actually validating it. Let's talk about that for a little bit because I did the same thing where I just sort of built something one time about like for podcasters and it wasn't something that I really validated with anyone. And I that's a huge mistake. Can you talk a little bit about that situation? Was it the first course that you built?
So I wrote a book called The Zero In Formula. This was during COVID. I all of a sudden had some time on my hands and thought, okay, all these in-person workshops and all this in-person consulting I was doing was put on hold or canceled. Let's sit down and write a good book. So the Zero In Formula came out. It's a kind of a blueprint for businesses on how to be more customer-centric and innovative. I told all kinds of stories. I interviewed a bunch of people. I gave all kinds of strategies and tactics in there. I kind of give my formula for building this type of business, and the book took off. I got on all kinds of podcasts. It hit #1 bestseller in 4 countries on Amazon. I thought, wow, this is amazing. Well, how do I take a low ticket thing like a book and then reproduce it into something a little higher ticket? Well, the obvious thing was, well, I'll just build a course. But I did zero market research, zero validation. This is the first time I had ever built a course, and I just put my head down, came up with the curriculum, created all the content. I spent money on a professional film crew and editing and had it all polished so the sound and the video and everything was great, but nobody wanted it. I could barely sell the course. I had to highly discount it, and I ended up losing money on it in the end because it was just something I thought people would want, and I just, built it in a silo without any sort of validation. So that taught me a lot. Learned a lot of lessons there, and obviously put that into my next few courses, which have done much better, by the way. So
Yeah, I hear some other creators, I don't know if you could echo this, but sometimes they tell me that they'll like interview like 10, 15, 20 people and then capture those notes in some sort of like AI program and then feed it to like ChatGPT or Gemini and then say like build something based upon this. And I definitely wasn't doing anything close to that amount of research. But how do you think about research differently now or like validation?
my research has typically been much more manual and old school. For my next couple of courses, what I did was I just started paying attention to, as I was coaching people or as I was doing consult engagements, where did people have more questions? Where did they want to dig in further? Where did they want to see some sort of um, tangible takeaways like cheat sheets or worksheets or something that they could take and start actioning? And I thought, okay, that are things that would make a great course. I can create these resources. I can create videos explaining the resources. I can have examples of how to fill out the resources. I can teach people how to use them and implement them. That's a great course. That's where my ideas came from, was from people asking me more direct questions. But then it was, okay, now how do I validate this even further? So what I did was, instead of just producing it as a course, packaging it and selling it, I first ran it as live sessions. So I invited people. Hey, I told them, I'm planning on making this into a course. I want your feedback. I want your testimonials, and I want to help you. The course is going to sell for $100. I'm inviting you to a one-time live session for $47. So you can be a beta tester for this content And those live sessions filled up quickly. I got all kinds of feedback live. Where are people's eyes lighting up? Where are they saying, oh, that's exactly what I needed? And where were they still asking more questions? Okay, I need to add that to the course now. I need another resource. I need to explain this even further. And then I get all these testimonials from those live sessions. So now when I can repackage it, update the content, I know now it's something that everybody wants and needs. I know people were already willing to pay $47 for the live version. So, maybe $100 is accurate. So I would now go live with the course with all these testimonials, what's already been validated. And maybe I have a price point somewhere in between to kind of test that. So maybe I go live at $75 and let people know, okay, this price point is only going to be around for the next few weeks. It's going to go up to 100. So now I've also created some scarcity and some urgency, but it's been tested all along the way. The pricing, the content, is this valuable to people? That was a way better process than just, hey, I think people are going to like this course. Let me put my head down and build it now.
I always found like market research and validation to be one of those things that's super hard. That makes sense though. It seems like you kind of these pre-calls allowed you to kind of get an idea, it sounds like, of what people were looking for and whether or not they'd even pay for it in the first place. Did it take much effort to sell the $47 call out of curiosity? Because that's something that's newer to
No.
me too, is just like the concept of like charging for a call. It's cool. I've seen other people, I've tried it actually too, like recently we're charging like $99 for like a 2 hour workshop. And I had people that were down to go, even from like Colombia, which totally surprised me because I thought it would be like more, I don't know, US, Canada. It's an interesting concept that people will pay for call. I had a lot of unraveling to do about like paying for information because everything's free online when they first started out as a creator. Did you have that at all? Like this kind of like knowledge bias?
For me personally, in the beginning, I thought, why am I going to pay for anything? I mean, all this information's out there on YouTube, on Google, but it's only information. And that was the big mistake I think I made with my first course as well. It was just information. It was just me as a talking head going, hey, here's what you need to do. What I found was people aren't willing to pay for that. What they want to pay for is, how can you give me some sort of resource where I can take that information and now start utilizing it ASAP in my business? So worksheets, examples, cheat sheets, things that are going to allow them to go, okay, this is what you're talking about. Here's what it looks like in real life. And let me help you put that together. Here's step A, step B, step C. Here's what it looks like when you put it together. And here's how you implement it. That's what people need. Um, I was talking to the consulting guru, very famous guy, Alan Weiss, a few years ago. I was on a call with him when I was kind of just getting started. And he said to me, Dennis, nobody learns to ski by reading a book. They're going to read the book. They're going to think they know how to ski. And then they're going to get to the top of the hill. They're going to look down, or maybe snowboarding. They're going to look down and go, oh my goodness, I've never done this before. I read about how to do it in a book and I thought I knew how to do it. But now I'm looking down this hill going, I actually have no idea how to do this. What people need is an expert and a guide that's going to help them down the hill. So all the theory, all that kind of stuff, yes, you can find that for free. And as a coach or consultant, you should give that away for free. And then people will pay for the resources and the guidance to say, now help me implement that. Help me get down the hill. Come beside me as I go down. So that's what your course really needs to be, is that hands-on guide, not just a talking head saying, in theory, this is how it works. It's, here's the resources you need. Here's how you actually implement it. Share your screen showing you doing it yourself. Here's how I would do an email campaign. Here's how I would market my book. Here's an example of how I created scarcity and urgency. Here's, give those real-time examples and how you do it. And that's what people are willing to pay for.
Yeah, it makes sense. They're willing to pay for implementation, not just like the theory of it, which
Yep.
I totally get. How do you look at like some of your launches too now? Do you have like a launch process for? It sounds like you did that pre-call and then that got some information and then you use that information to remarket and then get social proof and whatnot.
For me, it all starts months ahead of time. So, for example, one of my courses is the author's playbook. And the author's playbook is where I share resources and me talking through all these resources about how to properly prepare for, how to properly structure, how to write your book, how to then edit your book, how to market your book, how to publish your book, all with resources, all with links, all with things that help you do it. But I didn't start there. I started months before that sharing on LinkedIn mostly. Here's what books have done for my business. Here's how it's increased my credibility by being a published author. Here's what I've learned about writing books. Here's, how it brought me clarity when I learned how to write properly. Here's a bunch of tips and strategies I learned about how to market a book properly. So I was putting this out there for quite a while on LinkedIn, sharing my journey. And that was attracting a lot of people who are maybe a coach, a consultant, or a freelancer. And they're like, maybe I should write a book as well. Maybe that's going to help me in my business, increase my authority, increase my credibility, get me more leads. And then I started to hint to, hey, a lot of people are asking to pick my brain about this. I've been doing a lot of coaching calls, helping other people figure out how to structure their book, how to market their book, how to publish their book. That's great. I want to help more people. I'm thinking of putting this into a course. So the whole time I'm sharing this online. And then it was, hey, here's some resources I'm going to share in my course. What else should I have? Hey, here's some stuff I'm going to do. Hey, here's some other stuff I've learned. And then it was, hey, by the way, I'm going to test this out in a live session. I'm going to invite 20 people max. And I want to test out all these resources on you. And that's where I say, eventually the course is going to be $100. I'm going to invite you for 47. So it was a big process to even get to announcing that. And then that was the first time I'm actually testing, are people willing to pay for this type of content? But because I brought them along and was kind of sharing this journey along the way, it was attracting those right potential customers or clients for that live session or for the course. And, I was all along to testing, okay, what kind of impressions, what kind of engagement am I getting on those types of posts? And it was a whole, 6-month learning process before even announcing, hey, I'm going to be doing this live session.
Building in public is really smart because I feel like once you get people involved in the journey, people start like learning about it. They start getting more interested. So I think that's a really smart move that you did there. How long are some of these courses too? Like, how do you know when it's done, or how long are they? A couple hours, or how does it work? I guess.
Most of my courses are between 60 to 90 minutes. And in fact, if I was to go back and redo the author's playbook, I would actually probably break it into 4 different courses, because I take people through how to write your book. That could be a course on its own, right? I go how to properly edit your book. That could be a course on your own. How to publish your book if you want to self-publish. That could be a course on its own. So right now they're different modules, and then I've got a whole module on how to market your book. I think people don't want to spend 90 minutes to 3 hours in front of their computer trying to learn all this stuff. And maybe they don't need all of it. Maybe it's, hey, I've already written my book. I've already edited my book. I just need help with how to publish it properly on Amazon. Well, maybe that could just be a micro course that's 30 minutes. And the price is a bit lower, but it's going to appeal to more people because that's the one problem you want to solve. Or it's, hey, I've already published my book. I'm having a hard time getting it out there. I just need some guidance on how to market it better. Okay, well, maybe they just buy that micro course on how to properly market a book. It's shorter, it's lower priced, which means it's a little more palatable, but maybe it's appealing to more people who are in that specific position where if I just need some strategies on how to market a book. So if I was to do it again, I would actually make it 4 courses instead of 1, even though it's not terribly long right now. It may be more than what people need, and that deters them from buying the course.
That is interesting because there is a lot there. I get what you're saying. You could almost break out some of the services into like little smaller parts, which makes
Yep.
a lot of sense. When you did those calls initially, how did you get them on the call, like the $47 call? Did you DM the people?
Most of it was through me announcing it on LinkedIn in a post. But then I do find anytime you're having some sort of live session like that, it does help to really personally reach out to people. So you know that you have no control over who LinkedIn shows your posts to. So I may have had a whole bunch of people responding to a post last week where I talk about writing a book, and they may not see the next post where I announce, hey, I'm doing this session. So I would go back to that previous post and say, okay, who are all the people that seemed really interested and really engaged in this? And then I'll send them a DM saying, hey, I don't know if you saw this post or not, but I'm running a session in a couple of weeks on how to write, edit, publish, and market a book. You might be interested, and I'd love to get your testimonial afterwards. So sign up here if it's something you'd be interested in. So if they didn't already engage on the new post and didn't already sign up, I would go back, find those people, and personally invite them.
And are you using Kajabi, or what are you using to like host these courses that you're doing?
So I host all my courses on Gumroad if I'm selling them individually. But then I also have a community, like I mentioned, and that's in Circle. And all my courses exist there as well, and they're free to anybody who's part of the community. So they exist in two places: Gumroad for one-time sales, and Circle for community members.
Let's talk a little bit about the community, because I think communities are really powerful, and I think that they're really cool. Tell me about your community and like how you decided. What did you decide to build, and yeah, whatever you can tell us about it.
Going back again to my own journey, I tried to do it all myself. Especially that first year, it was like, I can figure this out. I'm a smart guy. I like to learn. I'll learn as much as I can about branding and marketing and sales and pricing and packaging. And what I found was, there's too much information out there. And a lot of it's conflicting. Well, what's the right information? There's all kinds of stuff out there about personal branding. And if you read 3 different posts, they could say 3 completely different things that contradict. But maybe it's right for this type of person, but it's not right for me and the type of business I'm building. Well, I needed to bounce these things off people. I needed mentors. I needed coaches. I needed peers to be able to say, what's working for you? What's working for me? And I quickly found that I can't do it all alone. I can learn a ton, but deciphering and making good decisions and not making mistakes that other people have made and learning from that, I only started to get that when I surrounded myself with other people who were on a similar journey. But I did that very informally. I just had a group of people that I would chat with, mostly individually, but not in a group setting. And it wasn't until I was further in my journey where I was like, man, that would have been so much easier if I just had a community of people who were on a similar path, and we could get together, all together, learn together, grow together, share what's working for us, share mistakes, bring in guest speakers, learn from them. I'm like, well, why don't I just build that? So that's what I did. And I went through the same process that I learned with launching my course. Well, I better beta test this first. I better see, do people actually want this? Are people willing to pay for this? What works? What doesn't work? So I ran a 3-month beta first, and 15 people signed up very quickly. And I told them, okay, I'm giving you a lower price, and I will grandfather that price. If this thing works, if I decide to keep this community and you decide to stay, you can always stay at this lower price. I will grandfather that in forever. In exchange, I want your feedback. I want you to be telling me what's working, what's not working inside the community, and I want a testimonial from you if you're enjoying it. And it went really well. Got all kinds of testimonials, all kinds of great feedback, was able to test different types of calls, different types of challenges, brought in different guest speakers, and got tons of feedback from the beta group as to what is really making this a cool, fun, and valuable community and what isn't. And then got rid of the stuff that wasn't working, doubled down on the stuff that is. And now I've launched the community to the world, and it's opened up to anybody to come in now, knowing that, okay, I've got something that's working and something that's valuable. So
That's awesome. What is it focused on? Is it focused on the book writing, or is it focused more on like just entrepreneurship in general? Or
it's purely on solopreneurship. So how to brand yourself, how to niche down, how to message what you're doing, how to price and package your services, how to find new clients, how to do discovery calls properly, all the kind of stuff required when you're wearing all those many hats as a solopreneur.
It's really interesting. Like the whole solopreneur thing is fascinating. I feel like Justin Walsh definitely kind of broke the. He did a good job of showing people what was possible, and then I think a lot
Yeah.
of us are just sort of like going, "Oh wow, that's pretty amazing." How do you like Circle too? Because I was looking at Circle as well for something that we were building.
Yeah, I looked at a few different options. School's another popular one out there, mostly because Alex Hermosi is really pumping that one. But I talked to a few different people. Jay Klaus is a guy that uses Circle. I had him on my podcast, interviewed him. He's, you know, speaks very highly of Circle. I did a demo of it. I talked to a few other people using Circle, and I was like, yeah, this seems to be exactly what I need for the Solopreneur Sandbox. And it was a seamless transition. When I launched the beta, we didn't have a platform. We just used Slack to chat with each other, and we used Zoom to have a weekly call. But I had nowhere to kind of host, here's a bunch of resources I want you guys to have, or where they could share with each other, unless you shared them in Slack, which is not a great way to go organize documents. And I couldn't upload my courses into there. So moving over to Circle, now it's all organized. Here's all the courses you have access to. Here's the recordings of every weekly call if you missed them. Here's the different chat groups if you want to talk about different topics. So it's been a great tool for organizing the community.
What are some of the learnings that you had from, I guess, the 3 months that you pre-tested the community versus like now? Like, what did do you remember anything that you removed or more anything that you sort of like dialed in on more?
Similar concept to what we were talking about before. People don't just want information, they want application and execution and implementation. So when we get together for a weekly call, it's a hands-on deep dive. And if anybody comes in as a guest speaker, it's like, I don't want you to just come and share some information. I want you to do demonstrations. I want you to give us resources that we can take away. I've had a sales guy on, and he actually did a live sales call using one of the people in the community as an example. So he just did, okay, here's you and your business. Here's what you sell. Let's role play. And he gave us the template and he showed us what it should look like, but then he actually demonstrated it for us. So we could actually see, oh, that's how you handle a proper discovery call. So people could actually be involved in it. That's what I found really works. If it's just me or somebody else showing up going, in theory, this is how it should work, and let me just walk through a bunch of slides, you can find that anywhere. You can find that on any space out there that now shares information. Let's dive in and show you how to do it.